This also has been one of the dark places of the earth. Am I the only one who can't see the River Thames without thinking about Joseph Conrad and Heart of Darkness? Probably. I probably am. Heart of Darkness is one of my all-time favorite books. I first had to read it in high school, and not knowing anything about the Thames, or London really, that line has always stuck with me. One of the dark places of the earth. To this day, I can't hang out in central London without thinking about that line. The book begins on a ship that's anchored on the Thames, somewhere past London. At sunset, a sailor named Marlowe, apropos of nothing, starts telling a story. He begins by pointing out that for the Romans, this stretch of river was the very end of the world, a barbarian-controlled wasteland with little appeal for a civilized man, a malarial swamp surrounded by impenetrable forests and utter savagery. These days it's changed a bit. I'm only here for one day, and not even in London. Today, one of my wife Morena's business trips has taken us to Staines-upon-Thames, a market town about 30 kilometers west of London, and home to the famous and fictional Ali G. Hey everybody, it's Daniel. Welcome back to Spain to Go, the best podcast in the entire multiverse for all things Spain. It's been a while. It's been about a month since I've recorded an episode here. I've actually been out of Spain for about a month, so we're doing a few travel episodes for the next few weeks. I've been in Japan, in the Bahamas, and here we are talking about Staines in the UK, or more specifically, Staines, Runnymede and Windsor. In a few weeks, we'll be back to our normal Spain content, but since I haven't been here, I don't have anything new about Barcelona. Anyway, let's talk about the wild places of Surrey. Welcome to Staines-upon-Thames. With a history dating back to the Paleolithic era and once a center for linoleum manufacture, Staines is now a quaint suburb of London, with a little high street, a couple of pubs, and several swans floating on the river under a white granite bridge. There is, one of Morena's co-workers complains, absolutely nothing here, a phrase which always irritates me when applied to towns in Europe. As a person who grew up gazing through the windows at a dirt road and an endless expanse of cacti and sagebrush, this is not absolutely nothing. It is, in fact, a market town with pubs, swans, bridges, Indian restaurants, coffee houses, hotels, a shopping center, and even a Primark. There's a train that'll get you to Waterloo Station in half an hour. There is, and I will go to my grave asserting this, actually quite a lot going on in places like this. Actually, if you ever find yourself lamenting the lack of entertainment and culture in a place like Staines, please go spend 20 years on a remote patch of Arizona desert before coming to me with your complaints. I would have loved to grow up in such a cosmopolitan environment. All that aside, my goal today is Runnymede. Runnymede is perhaps not on everyone's sightseeing itinerary, but it is on mine. It is here that, in the year 1215, the Magna Carta was signed by King John. The Magna Carta Libertatum, the Great Charter of Freedoms. It's not exactly the Holy Grail or the remains of Saint Ursula, but what more do you need for a British town? Walking out of Staines, though, I soon find that Runnymede isn't a town at all, but a meadow, an unassuming stretch of grass spread out on one side of the River Thames, surrounded by no poaching signs. There's a pleasure ground along the way with a monument to the younger Queen Elizabeth, a few cafes selling ice cream for dogs, nothing here indeed, and then a couple of signs from the National Trust, 8 centuries of the rule of law. The actual Magna Carta monument was apparently built by the American Bar Association. A bit further on, there's a monument to President John F. Kennedy, complete with a 7-ton stone bearing the words, "Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and the success of liberty." That's from his inaugural address in 1961, and it sounds pretty good, and quite unlike our current crop of politicians. The Magna Carta wasn't a declaration of human rights in the way we currently understand such things, but it is an iconic document, limiting the powers of kings and eventually inspiring the writers of the U.S. Constitution. Here in Spain, the expression Carta Magna is a synonym for a national constitution. I've seen it used to refer to the Spanish Constitution of 1978. The original Magna Carta, signed here in 1215, gave rights to the church, prevented arbitrary imprisonment of England's nobles, limited feudal taxes, promised access to a swift and impartial justice system, and more. The line, "No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law," from the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, is derived from the Magna Carta, which promises, "No free man shall be seized or imprisoned, or stripped of his rights or possessions, or outlawed or exiled, or deprived of his standing in any way, except by the lawful judgment of his equals or by the law of the land." That is the Magna Carta Clause 39. Really, the Magna Carta was an agreement between the unpopular King John and some rebellious barons, wealthy landholders who were sick of being taxed in arbitrary ways. As you probably know, the authors of the U.S. Declaration of Independence were also wealthy landowners, and when they said liberty, they probably meant something along the lines set down in the Magna Carta. Not exactly what we mean today. Incidentally, Ron Chernow's biography, Washington, A Life, suggests that the Founding Fathers were shocked at how little time it took the American people to decide that all the talk about liberty they'd heard during the Revolution actually applied to them, and not just to the super rich. Their society was classist in ways that seem insane if you read about them now, and freedom for all wasn't a part of their original calculations. Anyway, this is Runnymede, and it's hot. One of the few hot days in the short British summer. I think about stopping at the Magna Carta Tea Room, run by the National Trust apparently, for refreshment, but it's getting on towards lunchtime, and I could also use some real food. So I walk on, past a sign welcoming me to historic Old Windsor, home of Saxon kings. Please drive carefully. And then through a town of cute English houses with high-peaked roofs. Over here is Windsor Castle, also run by the National Trust. It's closed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I can't be the only American who learned more about the UK from the Beatles than I ever did in history class. All this talk about the National Trust has me thinking of the line from Happiness is a Warm Gun, which goes, "A soap impression of his wife that he ate and donated to the National Trust." Be careful when Googling the meanings of your favorite Beatles lyrics. You might just find out some phrase you'd enjoyed for several decades is little more than a line they got from a magazine while tripping on acid. Apparently, to donate to the National Trust means to take a dump on public land. Also, the warm gun may refer to John Lennon's penis. Sorry about that. I find a place that's got Nepalese food that's open for lunch and have a Himalayan chicken curry with starters and rice for just 40 pounds. When I'm done, I walk off to see if I can go through the gardens at Windsor Castle. Apparently I can't, so I end up on a small highway in the heat, going right under the flight path into Heathrow. After an hour, I've walked halfway around the outside wall of Windsor Castle's gardens and reached the town of Windsor, where I stop for an iced coffee. Looking around, I see a sign that says Eton, pointing across a bridge. The Duke of Wellington never actually said that the Battle of Waterloo was won on the playing fields of Eton, but the quote has long been attributed to him nevertheless. George Orwell definitely did say, in The Lion and the Unicorn, Probably the Battle of Waterloo was won on the playing fields of Eton, but the opening battles of all subsequent wars have been lost there. He was lamenting the decline of his political class, a thing we're all given to doing from time to time. In any case, I can't be bothered to walk across this new town to have a look at Eton College. Just knowing it's not a fictional or metaphorical place will have to be enough for today. Looking at Eton's website, I learned that tuition is about £53,000 a year, plus some extras, school trips, memberships in the boat club, etc. Also, every year up to 12 talented boys whose life opportunities may have placed them at a disadvantage receive an Orwell Award. Orwell himself went to Eton on scholarship. I wonder how he would feel about having a program for disadvantaged boys named after him. Or how he'd feel about the word Orwellian, for that matter, or whether he'd absolutely love the TV show Big Brother if he were still around. I'm a fan of Orwell. Check out episode 37 for my comments on homage to Catalonia and part of what I have to say about the Spanish Civil War. Episode 38 is also about the Spanish Civil War told from the other side, and I've got a further article that is sort of on the back burner, but I will eventually have a lot more to say about the Spanish Civil War. Anyway, being less than awed by the lives of royalty and other upper-class toffs, I decide to call it a day and head back to the hotel. The train has me back in Staines-upon-Thames in 15 minutes, and I collapse in the hotel bed for a while, exhausted by my long walk in the hot British weather. Morena's been at the office all day, but around 7 p.m. she's back at the hotel for dinner. I've started pre-gaming with some alcohol-free Heineken, so I'm rehydrated by the time she arrives. The restaurant has fish and chips, but of course they're calling it beer-battered haddock, with triple-cooked chips and crushed minted peas. That's what I'm getting. It's not going to be very good, says Morena. It's never very good, I say, but I can't come to the UK without having fish and chips. Heavy northern foods appeal to my Viking genetics. In fact, my Himalayan curry lunch was a bit of a compromise with myself. I'm trying to avoid most things glutinous these days, but I'd almost stopped at a typical old-style pub for a steak and ale pie instead. Now I'm going all in on local cuisine. I have no conclusion to this episode, but it's been a pretty good day. The beer-battered haddock is average and filling, and I've also checked Runnymede off my list of places to visit as a history nerd. Tomorrow, for reasons I'll explain in a future episode, we're off to the Bahamas. Hope you have a good day out there wherever you are in the world. I'm now back in Barcelona. The Bahamas was also hot and, well, it was the Bahamas. I had never had an experience like that before. We were at this giant resort. Long story. That'll be probably the next episode. There has been a development in the Catalan independence situation this week, which I may write about or may not. It's at least amusing. Other than that, I've got Japan coming up, which is a longer article because we were there for about 2 weeks, and a return to our regularly scheduled Spain stuff. Head past my website, expatmadrid.com, for a lot more. I've got plenty of stuff on there that doesn't make it to the podcast, but is useful, information about all aspects of life in Spain. You can go to expatmadrid.com/donate to donate a few bucks to the cause here. I appreciate it. expatmadrid.com/donate. You can donate anywhere from €3 up to however much you want. That'll keep me buying alcohol-free Heineken and, iced coffee in my journeys from place to place here. I am on YouTube. Check out Learn Spanish with Daniel. I haven't made any new Spanish language videos for a while, but if you look for me, Learn Spanish with Daniel, there's 50 or so videos up there. I'm teaching not exactly beginner Spanish, more intermediate Spanish. If you already have some Spanish in your life, it could help you out. And I will be making more of those at some point. I am working on a bit of time management these days, and I have realized that I have about 11 different projects in my life. So, I get to things when I get to them. 11 projects, plus I'm, married. I'm trying to stay in shape. I have like an active middle-aged guy lifestyle. Anyway, head by YouTube to learn some Spanish, expatmadrid.com to learn more about all things Spain. Subscribe to the podcast wherever it is you're listening. You can give me some stars on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. You can give me a rating. I hope a good one. I think this is episode 80, so you can listen to 79 other episodes as of today and learn a lot more about life in modern Spain. It's not all sunshine and flamenco, although this week has been very sunny. And that's all I've got for today. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are out there. And stay tuned. We'll be back soon. Thanks for listening, y'all. Hasta la próxima.